Welcome to the Last Scout Show. Originating from the Okojo Frontier Studios on the Missouri-Kansas border in small-town rural America. The Last Scout Show is an Okojo LSR radio production. And now that we've got all that out of the way, the story coming up is just going to blow you away. When I read it, I could not believe it myself, and I thought I really got to bring it out here for everybody to see, because those of you that follow Last Scout Radio or the Last Scout Show know that I speak a lot on Venezuela, and watching the collapse of the socialist government in Venezuela has been quite a quite an experience to watch and learn about. I mean, the Chavez took over the oil companies. It was handed over to Maduro, and the economy's tanked. The people are starving. They've eaten zoo animals, for God's sake. I mean, that's just how desperate the situation is in Venezuela. And I bring that up, and I talk about it a lot, but we have got to see that socialism does not work. And Venezuela is a prime example. It's a classroom 101 on the failure of socialism, and why another incident of why socialism will not work in this country. Just another example. This article that I'm about to go through comes from the Miami Herald. It was posted, let's see, one second. It was posted March 27th, 2018, and it was written by Edward Freisler. And the title reads, "In Venezuela, hungry child gangs use machetes to fight for quality garbage." As Liliana picks lice from the tangled thick hair of her boyfriend, Patricio, while they sit together on the sidewalk of a Caracas street, she also is multitasking, keeping a watchful eye on her family. When a 10-year-old girl named Daniela kneels down to drink water from a puddle, Liliana reproaches her, urging her to have a sip from a juice bottle they've just found in a garbage bag. At 16, Liliana has become the mother figure for the gang of Venezuela children and young adults called the Chacao, or Chacao, something like that, Chacao. So if I mess up some of these names, please forgive me. The Chacao, named after the neighborhood they've claimed as their territory. The 15 members, ranging in age from 10 to 23, work together to survive vicious fights for quality garbage in crumbling, shortage-plagued Venezuela. Their weapons are knives and sticks and machetes. The prize? Garbage that contains food good enough to eat. Liliana has a quick, wide smile and goes by the nickname Caramello. She takes charge of each day for the group, deciding how much food for her family will consume and how much they will stash away for another day. She settles conflicts that flare up and gives a hug, a kiss, or a pat on the back as needed. "Caramello is my mommy and Paola is my aunt," declared Dania Yiles, a newcomer who joined the gang about a month ago. "She left home," she said, "because there was not enough food to go around." The aunt she referred to, Paola, is just 14 and another member of the gang. Caramello, who asks that the full names of the group's children be withheld for fear that they will be targeted by police, has created a hierarchy within the Chacao gang. There's an inner circle that she calls the small combo. It includes her, Paola, and 7 other members who roam the city together to recycle black trash bags, meaning they search the bags for food and drinks. Whatever they find, they share. The rest of the gang is left outside of the leadership circle for various reasons: violent behavior, keeping food to themselves, or sometimes a personal dislike. But when it comes to defending their territory, all differences and antipathy are forgotten. Caramello convenes all 15 members into the big combo to present a united front to gangs from different neighborhoods. That's how Caramello's gang took control of Chacao Even though many members don't come from the neighborhood, including Caramello, who was born and raised in Yunquito, a Caracas neighborhood in the mountains about 10 miles away. A year ago, the gang was stationed around a small supermarket at a small centro commercial Ciudad Tamanaco that generates tons of garbage, but a feared rival gang from the neighborhood, Los Mercedes, also wanted the garbage. Caramello's gang was attacked and chased out of the zone, so they took their weapons, knives, slingshots, broken glass, and machetes, and seized the nearby neighborhood, Chicagua. At this point, we had had enough members and we were organized. We pushed the other group out of here, said gang member Patricio, 23, who added that the clashes with Los Mercedes group toughened them up. The reason for the violent takeover, which in a gang slang is called for a change of government, was simple and sad. Chicago's many restaurants offered a better chance to find food in the garbage. There are at least 10 gangs in the capital, social workers and police estimate. There were always children on the streets in Venezuela, but now we are seeing a new phenomenon. Kids who get more food on the street than at their homes, said Beatriz Tirado, who leads the Angeles de Calais, or Street Angels, a non-government charity. Tirado claims that all the Chicago gang members have homes where at least one parent lives. Our kids are finding ways to survive because neither in their homes nor in their communities is there enough food, explains social worker Roberto Patino, who has established 29 public diners all over the country to feed the hungry children. From Monday to Friday, the diners provide food for 1,000 kids every week. Patino said, even so, he believes that he isn't coming close to feeding all the children who need help, given the overwhelming number he sees on the streets. Experts estimate that in Caracas alone, they are in hundreds, if not thousands, of street children and young adults. And it's not hunger alone sending children onto the streets. Domestic violence is often cited. I left because I got beaten badly, Caramello says about her mother, a drug addict. Caramello has two aspirations now. She wants to become a criminal justice advocate or to open a candy store she would name Caramello's. A year ago, she had a miscarriage. Patricio was the father. The baby died, she said, as a consequence of a clash with a rival gang. A girl from another gang punched me hard in my belly. The next thing I remember was waking up in a hospital, Caramello recalled. Despite that, she returned to the gang, she said, to take care of her street kids. The gang must protect its own from rival gangs searching for food, but that works both ways. Sometimes the Chicago gang ventures into the more affluent neighborhoods of Caracas to look through what they call quality garbage bags. One of those territories in Los Mercedes with high-end restaurants that attract rich Venezuelans. Because of garbage bags that often contain leftovers and even untouched food, they are sought after by the number of the gangs. A gang from the working-class neighborhood of Petare fights for the bags with a gang based in Los Mercedes. We do not fight them because we are hungry just like them. Why should they own the garbage? Asked 22-year-old Andy, who comes from the area. On a recent afternoon, as he checked the trash bags on a sidewalk, he found a jar of corn flour mixed with mayonnaise and ate it all. Venezuela got mean. Nobody is generous anymore. That means I have to get nasty and fight to survive, he said, admitting he owns a machete to look scary. Tirado, the social worker from Angeles, said she sees the results of the gang clashes. Every week we have first aid ready to treat cuts and bruises they might have suffered over the week in their fights. Charities like Angeles, medicine and clothing to the needy children. Caramello's family gets help from the group every Sunday right on the street. 1 second here. The gangs claim that in addition to skirmishes with other gangs, they are constantly harassed by police, often at the request of business owners. My clients are afraid of these gangs and they don't come when they see them hanging around, said the owner of a pizza restaurant on Francisco Miranda Street in Chicagua. The man, who refused to give his name for fear of reprisal, believes the children manipulate people by trying to pull on their heartstrings. They, the children, smudged some dirt over their faces and put on tattered cloth to look miserable, the owner said. He said he calls the local police patrol to chase the gang away from his business, a measure that only works for the short term. Patricio, the oldest member of Caramello's gang, claims the police sometimes abuse him. They burn our shoes and sometimes break our fingers with a baton, he said. One high-ranking police officer who works in the Baruta district that includes affluent neighborhoods like Las Mercedes didn't want to be named out but said most officers just feel bad for the hungry children they see on the streets. There are some bad cops, but many others are just stunned by the tragedy of these children, he said. However, he added, some children are criminals who steal, assault people, and use drugs like crack, sometimes smoked in makeshift pipes made from parts of discarded plastic dolls. When you smoke, you don't feel hungry, explains Patricio. Will the members of the gang ever try to leave the street life behind? I will get out of the street only after my children have an opportunity for a better and happy life, Caramello said. And that concludes that argument of why socialism doesn't work in Venezuela. Last Scout Show. I'll be back right after this.
It's new. It's now. It's Flash Cube. Flash Cube? Flash Cube. Only with the newest Kodak Instamatic cameras. 4 full-power flashes in one tiny cube. Flash Cube. It's this way, man. Drop in a film. Get yourself a Flash Cube. Pop it on. Take 1. Take 2. Take 3. Take 4 flash pictures without changing bulbs. In color, of course. Newest Instamatic camera outfits from less than $18. Only from Kodak.
And this is the Last Scout Show, the backside. Sorry about that. Did not mean to increase the volume that much. There we go. Trying to get into the saddle here. So, as you can see, socialism in Venezuela has not been a good thing. And the onslaught of socialism in this country, the onslaught of communism in this country, the anarchy in this country, it can't be preceded. This is what we'll end up with, is exactly what is going on in Venezuela. So there's just tons of articles out there on the what's going on in Venezuela. I'll give you another one real quick. It's in a series from the Miami Herald, and it's by Antonio Maria Delgado, and it was posted March 29th. And it reads, doctors in violent Venezuela work under threat of death if patient dies. Junior Rodriguez is used to seeing death and violence up close because he's a doctor in a public hospital in Venezuela, one of the world's most dangerous countries. But the violence has been turning more personal for Rodriguez and the rest of the medical staff at the Dr. Luis Rosetta de Barcelona University Hospital in the eastern state of Anzoátegui. The staffers work under constant death threats made by relatives or friends of patients, some of them dangerous gang members, if the patient dies. Most of the time, that's the doctor's worst fear, and that the patient dies and the relatives take it out on him, Rodriguez said in a telephone interview. The threat of harm if the patient dies is always there. We don't have any kind of protection. You treat a person who turns out to be a criminal, and if that person decides to point a gun at you, there is nothing you can do. Rodriguez quit the hospital months ago and wants to leave Venezuela to escape the crime and economic implosion that has brought widespread hunger to the oil-producing country. He would join the 22,000 other doctors who have fled, according to figures from the Venezuela Medical Federation, the VMF. The massive exodus of one-third of all the doctors in the country is accelerating the collapse of a health system already hammered by deep shortages of medicines and medical supplies. Patients having surgery sometimes must bring their own scalpels, and more than 85% of basic medicines are in short supply, meaning that some patients have to go as many as 9 pharmacies to find them. The shortages have been especially hard on patients with chronic diseases such as diabetes and high blood pressure, and those who need antibiotic or medicine for AIDS. Many medical professionals have decided that they simply cannot continue to work amid threats and shortages, as well as salaries that are often as less than $10 a month, not enough to buy 2 chickens. The government has condemned medical personnel to a miserable salary that is erased by inflation. For doctors in public hospitals, the salary stands at $4 or $5 per month. That's for specialists, said VMF President Douglas Leon Natera. The medical brain drain is being felt more acutely in public hospitals already operating at levels comparable only to the poorest countries, with women sometimes giving birth in waiting rooms and wounded patients treated on the floor. Nearly half of all the doctors who worked in public hospitals have left the country, Natera said. The impact of all these factors has not been felt as harshly in private clinics because their staff members earn better salaries and work under better conditions. But even this sector has started to suffer from the shrinking pool of medical personnel. William Barrientos, a doctor and vice president of the Health Committee of the Legislative National Assembly, said doctors who leave Venezuela are welcome in other Latin American countries. There are 2,000 doctors already working in Chile and another 1,842 on a waiting list of doctors who want to work there. There are about 2,346 in Colombia and approximately 1,654 in Ecuador, he said. The option in the United States are different, said Rafael Goninger, Miami-based president of the Venezuela American Medical Association, because it's difficult for foreign doctors to obtain U.S. certifications. Many Venezuelans are working as medical assistants or have started different careers. Even so, few regret leaving their country, especially as a rising tide of street violence flows deeper into hospitals and other medical facilities. Rodriguez said he knew of 3 cases of violent attacks on medical personnel. In one case, gang members went into an emergency room in Caracas and ordered the staff to turn their backs while they stabbed to death 4 patients. One doctor who did not obey was beaten. When you see them come inside, you know you have to hide because there's no telling what can happen. There's no police outside anymore, and the few who are out there run away because many don't even have guns, he said. In another case, Rodriguez said criminals went to his house to force him to treat a relative, but he managed to run away. The lack of security at the Rossetti Hospital made headlines in early March when Dr. Pedro Quijada was stabbed in the chest by thieves as he arrived at work. Quijada was lucky his wound was not very deep because the surgery would have run into a shortage of anesthetics, Oscar Neva, president of the Society of Internists and Resident Doctors, wrote on his Twitter account. So there you see, ladies and gentlemen, people across America, that is socialism. And that is what socialism looks like. It is not a good thing, and we surely don't want it here in America. This has been the Last Scout Show. It is Easter weekend. I hope you all travel safe. I hope you all have a good time with your families. I hope you remember the reason for the Easter holiday. Be sure and take care. And you can also catch me over at We the People Patriot Soapbox here on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel, look on the right, see Last Scout's Choices, and you'll see a link for We the People Patriotic Soapbox 24/7 live stream. Be sure and check out my man, Quite Frankly, and the ever lady of the investigation, Tracy Beans. From the Okeechobee Frontier Studio on the Missouri-Kansas border in rural small town America, this has been the Last Scout Show, an Okeechobee and LSR radio production. Take care, and God bless.